Hi guys, this is Breaker. Sorry about that delay, and we are back with a replay between VGInfi in the upper left-hand corner and Wei in the lower right. I'm still trying to figure out just how exactly he qualified for the CPL Shenyang 2013, and it looks like some people within my contact list are just telling me he was directly invited to the event, and well. My understanding is right now, presently, he's just, he's without a team. I don't know what kind of previous team he might have belonged to, but I think, I'm leaning towards saying maybe he belonged to, Zoo at one point. That does ring a bell. And now, Infi's like, how is it this laggy? I said,我刚才打的时候不卡的. Wait, when I was big, there was no lag? Oh, no. It's like, he just said when it was big, it was pretty, yeah, it was just like that. And, okay, he says it was always that laggy and we played. It was probably sarcasm from, Wei. But, Enfi was just complaining about the latency. And, of course, I mean, I don't think it's the Great Firewall of China to blame for, the current predicament they're in. Because this game was actually played within China. So, yeah. Now we do have Wei going to go ahead and just take this into a normal game, or so it has such a tempo. Both players now taking gas, about the same amount, so we could see similar builds. And beyond that, I can't know too much more, but talking about this map thus far, in the context of TVT, we could see, just a few drops here and there. We could see some Banshee harass as well. You just check out how much blank space there is out here in the skies. But at the same time, I want to say that it's not a wise idea to commit too many resources to harassment unless you can really make that harassment pay off by getting, say, a consistent 10, 15, 20 workers killed. So yeah. And thus far, both players taking it into that normal game. Both players actually getting their factories at the same time. Big difference right now would actually be the fact that we see Wei going for a tech lab, and he's going to be getting that on his barracks relatively soon. I honestly don't play Terran, so I couldn't tell you exactly what each player is thinking right now. Okay, so starport now going down, and it looks like, yeah, okay, well, this is something new. It looks like the Chinese players actually prefer to build their starport right next to the tech lab instead of building the starport, or, okay, for example, making a starport right here, making a tech lab right here, and then floating up that starport, then floating it right next to the tech lab. Kind of a strange trend, but it looks like, both players going for the same, like, pretty identical build. The only difference is one player has slightly larger supply lead than the other, and that would be Infi for the time being, but it did just plummet. I think both players just threw workers at each other and maybe lost them. Confusing. It's like these guys learned TVT from each other. Okay, so what I want you guys to take away from this game is that I think this is basically the trend. Like, this is what the Chinese players do on their server. Yeah, I mean, sure, I don't see anything wrong with using a Hellion to scout, but I mean, at the same time, they were both doing it at the same time. So, yeah, it just leads me to believe that maybe this is something that's really popular to do on the China server. But hey, it beats building your barracks, your factory, and your tech lab right next to your opponent's main. Like we saw in game number 1. No. Both players going for cloaked Banshee openers. Big difference right now is, well, Infi's gonna go ahead and get a second one, and so is Wei, but this is still a little hard to place. These guys going the southern route, but it looks like we're just gonna have Infi going straight to the main of his opponent, and both players going for the missile turret. But okay, this to me is evident that this is basically evidence to me that the players can hear the casters, if you will. Way's just gonna go straight up for a missile turret. Maybe he just knows that Infi really likes this kind of play. Maybe, you know, just maybe genuinely he knows Infi to do this kind of thing. Chinese players have a lot more contact with each other playing domestically than they do playing abroad, so they've got a lot less to study for. But oh, there's gonna be a Widow Mine, or is there gonna be? Yeah, there's actually 2 Widow Mines in the main for Infi, and that's basically all the anti-air he's gonna need. Meanwhile, he's actually microwing and multitasking like a boss, getting that Banshee to kill as many SCVs as he can. He doesn't have a scan on this anymore, so that means the Widow Mines actually have no way to attack this Banshee, even though it's completely within range. Meanwhile, it looks like some Marines tried to come in here and deal with that Banshee. Didn't quite get it done, and if he could take down that refinery, then he would absolutely turn his opponent's gas income into total shreds, and it looks like he won't be able to do that just yet. Meanwhile, back at the natural, the command center is being delayed. One Hellion gets into the main, but of course 1 versus 1. That Hellion with weak health gets shut down by the Hellion that was slightly stronger. In turn, the Banshee shuts it down as well. Meanwhile, it looks like somehow that second... Wow, this is actually pretty big. We see Infi shutting down his opponent's Raven production with that. Infi goes ahead and cancels his command center at the natural, and it looks like he's going to be able to maybe stabilize. If he can ever get that missile turret to finish, there is, of course... well, there's a Raven here, and is he gonna repair the missile turret? Is it gonna burn down? Is it gonna burn down? Is it gonna burn down? Yes, it just burned down, but it's okay, I guess, because he has a Raven. Okay, meanwhile, back at home, the Raven popped out, and finally a Viking did the follow-up, and I'm a little curious, who's killed more now? Wei has killed more of Infi's. But beyond that, Infi is actually getting ahead in the regard that he started an expo. Hellion runs straight into the main, finds out that there is no expo for Infi, and I think maybe, just maybe, we see Wei in a position where he's thinking, okay, I'm in quite the harmful predicament. What do I do now? For those of you who are wondering just what kind of team VG is, it was started by the not Battle.net World Championships, but the WCS China 2012 victor known as Com. I think he basically split away from Hawaii Spider and started his own team, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you know what you're doing. But what we see Infi doing right now is he's not getting an expo up. This is going to put him ahead in terms of the army count. If we just examine this much right now, hither to this point, he's more than double his opponent's army supply. But can he take down his opponent? Well, let's just wait and find out, shall we? Widow Mine, oh, sorry about that misclick. Widow Mine unburrows and kites a couple of tank shots. And this is the one and only opportunity we're going to see Infi have to actually break into his opponent's main. He doesn't know about that third. So if he doesn't kill Wei right here, right now, he's absolutely boned. Oh, and look at this. The production structure is actually getting up for Wei. This is more and more infrastructure that's going to just, you know, make it easier for Wei to eventually push back his opponent. What he could do is he could eventually just push it back. He's going to have stim on the way in the near future, but the question is, will it finish? We don't know. We have to wait and find out. Raven, Hunter Seeker, or not Hunter Seeker drone, but point defense drone going down, and that's going to be able to basically deal with the Marines and everything that they throw at him in the near future. Infi 52 supply, and so is Wei, but right now, infrastructure just fell. Tech Lab is now being targeted down. Factory is going to fall in the near future. And now, in a bit of desperation, we see our Red Terran throwing out one of his Banshees at his opponent's main mineral line. I don't know if he's going to be able to do this or not. Hunter Seeker missile is actually going to just get up there. Fizzle, that was confusing. He actually had a full-blown target on that one Marine, and the Marine didn't run away. That's so confusing. Here we go. It looks like little by little, everything that we have for Wei is falling apart. I don't know if Stim finished or not. No, but +1 did. This is making the situation increasingly worse for Infi, or not Infi, but rather Wei, as we do see him pushing into, you know, getting pushed into a corner essentially. Oh man. And now he has vision of just what's over there. He's got one tank sieged up. Everything is now being pulled, and a Hunter Seeker missile going down on that one tank sieged up and back. Kills a couple of SCVs along the way. And now all of this economic damage that has been done to Wei is just It's irrecoverable, I think. Well, it's recoverable, but I don't know if he can rebuild his infrastructure in time. I mean, he's only got 1 barracks left. Sure, he's got triple orbital, but he's only got 1 barracks. You can only really pull that off versus Zerg, and if you know your Zerg opponent's going for a gasless opener. There it is, the GG from Wei as he basically gives up at 8 supply. Interesting game. I don't know if I'd give it the breaker stamp of made in China, if you will, but certainly an interesting game. I've seen some other ones done by Chinese pros at the Neo TV Star League. I will say that game number 1 was certainly a made in China game, if you will. But stay tuned, and hopefully I can get some more VODs up with the rest of the CPL Shenyang. Please stand by.